What's going on, people? I see I still have Be Back Soon up. There we go. Starting soon. Starting now. Starting soon, starting a while ago, because we're starting now. What's going on? I'm No Nothing Attorney. I know nothing, so you can too, because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything. And that's what we try to do every day we come here together. I try to learn from you guys. I try to be a source of inspiration for learning, if not to teach. So we got a lot of shit going on here. I'm gonna turn this down. First off, I've started doing alternating days, except for Fridays and Saturdays, so that I can actually get some rest and get some other things done that are still associated with the project, like making videos, doing back-of-house management, stuff like that. So last night was our first one of those. I already feel a bit refreshed, even though I didn't get that much more sleep, but it is nice to have like a mental break. I think it's gonna work out well. I foresee this going well. Besides, Traders comes out on Thursdays, so besides that, we got things going on in the world. Just too much stuff going on in the world. I clicked on a live YouTube feed earlier today that said Trump impeachment, and it was entirely questioning Gnome. So I don't know if they're calling that a Trump impeachment because it's his administration. Where was the crazy shit from yesterday? Well, first there's this. This was crazy enough. But actually crazy in a positive way. Where's the actual... Okay, oh, it's broken. Say goodbye to that window. There we go. Let's get the actual article so we know what size to make it. There we go. Okay. 71% of Americans say U.S. is out of control under Trump. More than 7 in 10 Americans think the United States is out of control under President Donald Trump, according to a new national poll of adult citizens. If that's the wording of the poll, that's a pretty weird way to word your choices in a poll. Out of control? Maybe it's like, maybe they had a list of descriptors and they say how much you agree or disagree with this, or just state whether you do or whether you agree or disagree with this. And so this was just one of the indicators that people responded to. That's possible. Americans' perceptions of how the country is being run are likely to prove decisive in how they vote in November's midterm elections. These findings reflect unease with Trump's approach, chiming with other recent national surveys in which majorities said he had gone too far with military interventions abroad and voters expressing a preference for restraint and congressional checks on the use of force. The United States is out of control, according to 71% of those polled in a new National Economist/YouGov survey. Just 18% of respondents said the country was under control, while 11% said they were not sure. Wow. 18% said the country was under control. That's even worse than I thought it was. I was considering something closer to 71-29. But at 18%, I mean, consistently, historically, the unmoving MAGA crowd has been 30 to 33%. That's the amount you could count on to never disagree with anything that Trump did. But sure enough, like, we've reached far into the 30%. This is way more good news than I thought it was. If we hold on to this, 18%, that means we got that 11% is doubting. That's the 11% we need to reach, and we need to bring them in the other direction. That is the goal. I need to hold on to this one. This is an important survey. The data showed that the out-of-control sentiment cut across most demographic groups. 70% of white respondents, 79% of black respondents, 70% of Hispanic respondents said things were out of control, while 70% of 18 to 29-year-olds and 74% of those 65 and older agreed. No shit, the people who can remember? Man. I mean, I think at this point we're talking about people whose parents taught them about the Nazis. 60, yeah. Parents and grandparents taught them about the Nazis, told them firsthand what they were like. Even among Republicans, the numbers were not positive for Trump, with 50% saying the country was out of control, 38% saying it was under control, and 13% saying they were not sure. To be fair, those respondents could be saying the libs are out of control and we have not done enough to crack down on them. That's possible. Scary. Possible. Responses overall diverged by 2024 vote and party. 91% of former Vice President Kamala Harris voters described the country as out of control. Are you? That last 9% disappoints me. Compared to 50% of Trump voters. And 94% of liberals said it was out of control versus 71% of moderates. Huh. And 71% of conservatives. The lopsided result dovetailed with separate polling from AP NORC conducted January 8th to 11th, using the probability-based Amerispeak panel of 1,203 adults with a margin of error of plus or minus 3.9 percentage points. The survey found that 56% said Trump had gone too far in deploying U.S. forces to intervene abroad. That is way too low. Good God, that's way too low. That is so insane. The survey's findings, which followed the U.S. capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, also reflected broader disapproval of Trump's foreign policy. 57% of respondents expressed disapproval of his handling of Venezuela. There was a partisan split, with 71% of Republicans saying his actions were about right. Jesus. What happened to the party of small government? In a separate Quinnipiac survey conducted by from January 8th to 12th, 70% of respondents said presidents should obtain congressional approval before taking military action against another country. Well, no shit. And that's way out of whack with 56%. Why the difference, guys? What was the next thing I wanted to look at? Nope, not there. It's got to be here. Oh, come on. There it is. Absolutely disturbing. Boy, it's a quiet night. Look what happens when I take a day off. I think I'm going to have to cut this title here in a second. It's too long. Saving the American Family, Heritage releases landmark report on rebuilding and strengthening families. That is their own news release about themselves. Damn. This is some nuts shit. Washington. The state of the American family is in crisis, with a low marriage rate, a low fertility rate, and an epidemic of broken homes. Without the formation and stability, I don't know if there's a low... What do you mean by fertility rate? What is that measuring? I mean, a birth rate? Okay. No, it's a good use of the word. Without the formation and stability of families, America will not survive. That's why the Heritage Foundation has released the first in a series of special reports that outline the conservative vision for renewing American families. The first in a series. Fuck. Saving America by Saving the Family presents a comprehensive examination of the current state of the American family, along with innovative solutions to encourage family formation. Heritage Foundation and Heritage for Action for America President Dr. Kevin Roberts made the following comment on this groundbreaking report. The family is the foundation of every healthy society, and tragically, the American family... The American family, along with innovative solutions to encourage family... The family is the foundation of every healthy society, and tragically, the American family is on the brink. What's up, Sock Now? Reviewing the atrocious Heritage Foundation thing that Maddie shared. Our country will not survive if families continue to crumble at this rate. Did you take a look at the suit stuff I sent? What do you think? I haven't had the opportunity to look at the suit stuff. Is that in general? Yeah. Crochet man's double-breasted jacket pattern. That? This what we talking about? Hey, Maddie. Imagine if it were navy blue. Oh my god, why does it magnify on the page? White shirt and knit tie. Oh, I can't do all the knit fabrics. Like, that's too much. I can't. I hate dressing up as it is. I would much rather not wear dressy clothes at all. I picked the right profession. Especially if I'm going to get back into litigation, right? I have so much, like, I guess you could call it trauma. It's just, like, ingrained in me that anything that, is a status symbol, I hate it. I hate it so much. And so, dressing up fancy is itself a status symbol. Yeah, I feel like we've gone back in time here, Sock Now. To be fair, I have had a lot more fun dressing up lately, because I got a clothier in, like, the last year. That and, like, losing 100 pounds was a big deal. So, like, actually getting to have, like, some nice clothes, fit to me, and have them fit nice has been cool. Boy, Sock Now, this is not my style. Thank you for sharing yours, though. What's up, Evelyn? You have a channel nickname. It's all yours. And I doubt we're going to talk to that guy again, so... I mean, I haven't banned him. I doubt we will talk to him again. So, I don't know who's going to call you Evelyn if not me. Oh, right. I wanted to squeeze that in. There we go. Whoa. Well, the reason why putting stuff is because you know me as a guy, and you as a guy. I was thinking, oh, maybe there's like some, advice or something, like what I could do to make something for myself. So just getting like soundboard stuff, but I do like to dress up. But I don't like suit jackets that are what we have today. I like the knit fabric because it's breathable, but I can understand if you're wearing like a short sleeve button up, it's not going to be comfortable. Yeah, I mean, I don't wear short sleeve button ups, but I do roll my sleeves, but because I'm going to defy the status symbol if I have to wear it. Irish wool. We're on something today, guys. Look up Irish wool. That looks more comfortable than the other stuff. This looks softer. Don't worry about it, Sock, now. Not judging you or anything. Okay. If we want to secure the golden age of America, we must have bold solutions like those in this report that lay the foundation for stronger families. I only just realized, starting this article up on the channel, that they have the report here, and I have not gone through the report. Key takeaways. I don't want key takeaways. The full report. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it was the founders knew a hard truth. That when a nation fails to preserve the family, the state soon fails to preserve itself. What? "54 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence married and had a total of 337 children, among them an average of 6 each." That was a little bit different there, bud. Okay. The founders weren't even monogamous with their own wives outside of John Adams. Is that so? Well, I know there was... Thomas Jefferson had his whole thing. Alexander Hamilton had his whole thing. His very public thing. I don't know that Ben Franklin was married. Was he married? The thing I just always remember about Ben Franklin was his advice about hooking up with older women, which is just wild. Like, not wild to hook up with older women. It's just like... When I learned that in high school, Ben Franklin's advice about hooking up with older women, I was just like, what world do I live in? I didn't need to hear those words out of Ben Franklin's mouth. Not that I heard them out of his mouth, but I don't need to associate that with, the Texas quote-unquote war for independence was won by a prostitute, right? History is weird. History is very weird. He was, I don't think, very complimentary about it. I hate to say he was honest. I think it was a little bit rude in his language. Now, Franklin would not be writing this nonsense. Franklin, I'm sure, went to key parties all the time. Okay, what are we going to figure out in this report? Is it even broken into sections? Okay. Stop punishing family formation. The welfare state kickstarted the current crisis by punishing work and marriage. The welfare system has made marriage economically irrational for many low-income couples. Like, you can always tell that it's people who aren't in these systems that write these things. Dude, being poor sucks. Having SNAP benefits didn't make life easier. it made life suck. I didn't want to be on SNAP benefits. I hated having my SNAP card at checkout. I hated it every single time. You guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Being poor is its own punishment. You're saying that underpaying employees kickstarted the current crisis? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If we look back at the last big population boom in America, it was socialism's fault? Maybe we should try that socialism thing again. Not socialism, socialist policies. The welfare system has made marriage economically irrational for many low-income couples. Nearly all of the cash, food, and housing programs focus on subsidizing non-married, single-parent families with the greatest benefits aimed at families that do not work. God, this is so flipped on its head, it's infuriating. By do not work, they mean do not have a job. If you do not have a job, die. I feel like we need to rewrite this whole report with what they actually mean. Evelyn, this is the Heritage Foundation's new report on the crisis we are facing in America as to the family structure of the country. And they are promoting that the government implement changes to support and stop punishing traditional families. The new Heritage Foundation? Is that... Oh, it's just the new... Okay. Why don't we just make it free for low-income people to have food? Right. These... I'm trying to remember who I was explaining this to recently, where I was like, so... It's your determination that if someone isn't working, they should die? Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, that is what you're saying. You're saying that based on your own value judgment of this person, they should die. You have decided that. In your estimation, this person is not worth having around anymore. Why do you get to decide that? You know about the Seven Mountains Mandate? Pretty sure it's related. I don't know the Seven Mountains Mandate. Maddie, do you know if getting rid of no-fault divorce is part of Project 2025? Or is that coming up soon? The Seven Mountain Mandate is a Christian evangelical belief that followers must reclaim influence over 7 key societal pillars: religion, family, education, government, media, arts, and entertainment. Good luck with arts and entertainment. Fuck you. To transform culture and usher in Christ's return, promoting Christian dominion. All you guys forgot what religious persecution was like. There's a concept that I want to introduce called implied murder or implied killing. It is not explicit, but it's implicit, and I think there needs to be something regulating both explicit and implicit. I think in the case of like health insurance companies, where it's like, I feel like they have taken on a duty to preserve the health of the people who are enrolled in their program. And if that should be negligent homicide if they fail in that duty. I don't think you can hold a government to murder. Government is not like a thing you can punish. Like, I guess you could sue the government, but that's a different idea than murder. You can sue them for damages. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a Project 2026 thing. Oh, Christian nationalism in the United States. Oh boy, it's part of a series on. It's a dominionist conservative Christian ideology with evangelical Christianity, particularly independent charismatic groups. Holds that there are 7 well, let me just control F slave real quick. Okay, not slave. Slave didn't appear there. Evelyn, what did you mean by it being literally slavery? Seek to institute a nation governed by Christians based on their understandings of biblical law. Good luck getting them to agree on that. I was working around a bunch of state Republican legislators pre-COVID. They were all laughing that some nutjob legislator tried to put in a bill to end no-fault divorce. I wonder at times how many of them are now for it. Ugh. Man. Health insurance companies, what they're doing now, they don't believe in that fiduciary responsibility to their insurance holders, because it does become what you're saying, the responsibility of that company to preserve the health and well-being of their members. Like, it's like, I think health insurance companies have an inherent conflict of interest. Whose outcomes are you looking out for? The health of your customers or your shareholders? I know which one they choose. Want more poor houses with work requirements? Until you get a job, sorry, you're fucked. Sorry, I was responding to different things. When we were talking about the Heritage Foundation wanting poor people to die if they don't work, I was referring to it as basically a slaver's mindset. Yeah. It is kind of labor without consent, isn't it? If you have to get a job or you die, that is forced labor. Huh. I mean, indentured servitude wouldn't, like, none of this would be if you had some kind of basic minimum. Then it wouldn't be forced. You would have the right to choose the minimum. I think they have a responsibility to both if we're talking about the status quo system that we have. But if you're talking about my personal politics, I think that fiduciary responsibilities to investors should not overlook, yeah, for sure. Stock Now, as I described it, I think in this system, they only have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. The others are customers. Their only interest in safeguarding their customers is to the extent to which it benefits their shareholders. They are not undertaking a duty to these people. They are providing a service. They are wanting to set up camps for unmarried people to go to until they find a partner. They are? The fuck? Because the first rule of getting out of a hole is to stop digging, Congress and the administration should eliminate all marriage penalties and welfare programs and impose meaningful work requirements. Yeah, unless there's like a cooperative meaning that the insurance holder is the shareholder, it's not going to work out in this sort of system, yeah. Remember, guys, capitalism is the best form of economy in the world. It is a system under which people die if they don't work. Seems a little uncreative. In the 20th century, the quintessential image of the American dream was a family at home. Counterproductive regulations, of course, harm all aspects of civic life. They limit job prospects and make it harder for families to thrive with a single earner. What is your solution for thriving with a single earner? Oh, it's regulations. Regulations are the problem. Of course. Regulations on industry is making it hard. I don't think so, guys, because I'm pretty sure productivity has continued to rise. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I've seen techno-feudalism. That's... Jesus Christ. This is the, like, loosest of possible connections. This is so dumb. Wait, and you're just talking about regulations on home building? What? There must be a whole-of-government approach to elevating and defending the American family in all federal regulations, grants, enforcement, and research. Okay, so this is what they mean when they say the impact on families, whether it's positive or negative. In this sense, they can reject any regulation because it costs money. If a regulation costs money, then it's hurting American families because it's taking away from single-earner families. I want to run a simulation, Heritage Foundation, and see how much income goes up if we do this. I think we've already done studies on where the money goes if suddenly the companies themselves have a surplus. Project 2025 talks about outlawing unmarried people living together? Fuck. Creators of Project 2025 want to send unmarried people to camps. Gosh, I love freedom. I love freedom. I miss the idea of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I don't understand why there hasn't been an insurance company that is private but is a cooperative. I don't understand that that hasn't been a thing with all the different grocery cooperatives and the NUCAs. I just can't understand this, yeah. I don't blame people for not wanting to get married. Honestly, in this environment, I'm afraid to get married again. Why would I want to trap myself, especially with what I've been through? I wouldn't want to do that again. The Heritage Foundation, the think tank behind the infamous Project 2025, has dragged down Trump's most recent re-election campaign with its massively unpopular proposals, apparently has a new priority. I think it's a little hard to say it dragged it down. They won. They won the popular vote for the first time in forever. Lasagna, relax. Forcing people to get married is just the unification church all over again. I think the 7mm plays into this because, oh, the 7 Mountain mandate, okay. Plays into this because the church helps a conservative government to achieve all these dogshit policies by controlling those 7 mentioned areas of society. Yeah? Twitch got upset about the word incel. I think all the single people will definitely have problems. I think that there will be like an incel faction, but that's very small. As NBC News reports, the Heritage Foundation is pushing the White House to pass initiatives to financially reward newlyweds, create deeper tax incentives for married couples, discourage online dating, paradoxically it would seem, and even start opening government-run marriage boot camps. Oh. Re-education centers for unmarried couples. So wait, unmarried couples? Oh God. Successful completion of the program would mean that couples are ready to walk down the aisle at a communal wedding by the end of the boot camp. The bride and groom would also be matched with a mentor couple to help them navigate the highs and lows of early married life. And by that they mean coached to tell these young people to fuck. And to tell the women to do what the men want. I think single people will be upset. They want people to have babies so they can guarantee future laborers. Yep. Communal wedding? That doesn't sound very religious. Communal wedding? Like they just mean among the campgoers? Or like an unofficial wedding? There would also be cold, hard cash. Of course, that would be the incentive to make these unmarried people go to the camp. The most innovative aspect of such a program, however, oh my God, the number of guys who are going to coax the women in their relationship into, I mean, I guess the women will do it too. The number of people that are going to coax their partners into going to these camps, like, look, we just get the money, like. Oh my God. The most innovative aspect of the program, however, would be to add monetary incentive for couples to get and stay married. For example, each couple that completes the program could receive a wedding bonus of up to $5,000 on their wedding day to be paid through foundations or private donors, not government funds. So this... Is this something... Government-run marriage boot camps that the government doesn't pay for? Yeah, this is just vile. According to NBC, the total cost of the Saving America by Saving the Family initiative would be $280 billion over the next decade. As to whether taxpayers would pick up the bill, the Heritage Foundation's documentation notes that the federal government has previously earmarked money for marriage education programs. That's not what you're doing. That's not what you're doing. It's literally the plot to the movie The Lobster. Oh man, I haven't seen that in years. I don't even remember. I remember it being good. Jesus Christ. How is it still getting worse? I vaguely know about Palantir. The nerdiest shit name in the universe. Like, it's nerdier than, like, something named after something from Star Trek. You could call something Starship Enterprise and it would be better than Palantir. I was gonna say it would be like naming something after Vecna, but now that's mainstream. I knew Vecna before he was cool, and then before he was uncool again. I think the Heritage Foundation that created this big mess needs to be brought to the carpet in government chambers and jailing people for doing corrupt things, extortion, whatever you can put on them. I want them in jail because they need to go. Yeah, there's something fucked up about there being the opportunity in a society of freedoms for people to be allowed to advocate for people's losses of freedoms. Yeah, I think the Palantir is like the orb thing that he sees through. The scrying orb. Like, it's even nerdier than calling something like scry. If I were to name my service scry, it's nerdier than that. It's a specific means of scrying. They still want to get rid of the Fair Credit Act of 1974. Like, it's so weird and so sad that Christians, I'm sure so many Christians look at this and see God's work instead of slavery. The president should issue a series of executive orders requiring every grant, contract, policy, regulation, research project, and enforcement action involving the federal government to do the following. Explicitly measure how it helps or harms marriage and family, blocks actions that discriminate against family formation, and give preference to actions that support American families. That is quite literally unconstitutional. That is in violation of the 14th Amendment. Which section of the 14th Amendment is it? It's just section 1. No state shall make or enforce any law which... No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive... without due process of law. So you can treat married families better than other family groups if there is like a prevailing state interest. I forget what the actual threshold is. Like there's a specific word you have to, like, it has to be overwhelming or I forget for this circumstance. But to just make every federal law have to benefit traditional married families, that's unconstitutional. Yeah, education, well, de-education caused the problem. They've been de-educating the populace for decades. So now they're not going to be so blatant as to force people to get married. They'll tell you it's your choice. And re-education camps, sure, they'll call it that, but they'll say there's just a financial incentive to going. But then every law has to benefit traditional families. Which is just, it's an insane statement, period. Actively supporting marriage and working families. $2,500 for every kid. Right? How the American family dissolved and why it must be restored. Before proposing policies to address the crisis of family formation in the U.S., we need to grasp how we got there. The decline of the American family, which began slowly in the first half of the 20th century, metastasized in the 1960s, the evil decade, leading to an epidemic of broken homes and often broken children that continues today. Geez, this is almost blatantly racist. Almost blatantly. What happens if you fail out? Sucks to be you, you don't get the cash. It's as close as it can get without right stating it. Oh, it 100% is racist. It's just, it is very thinly veiled. Yeah, no, you don't get the cash. Are you stuck there? What do you mean? If you fail out of the re-education camp, are you saying that they're gonna make it a prison? They've realized they don't have to directly punish you. They can just starve you. They're going to call it a choice. I don't imagine you're stuck there. You're just going to go back out into the world. You're not going to get any of the married person benefits. And you're going to continue to be mistreated by the world of labor. You will eventually starve or just suffer at the bottom of the rung. Bottom of the ladder. Bottom rung of the ladder. A decline in stable married households headed by a father and mother is a menace to the future of every developed country, including the United States. The natural family is the cell of the social body, and no body can survive the death and decay of its cells. This is true for everyone, including those Americans who never marry or have children. What? The natural family is the cell of the social body, and no body can survive the death and decay of its cells. So the quote-unquote unnatural family or unfamilied person is not a cell in this body? Can I just not be part of the body? This is true for everyone, including those Americans who never marry or have children. The persistence of every civilization across time has certain prerequisites. Without the formation, stability, and fecundity of families, no country can survive. Social conservatives have advanced this argument for decades. Recently, however, the link between the future of civilization and the family has re-entered the wider conversation. 53% of Americans believe 53% of Americans believe people that having fewer children will hurt the country. Good job, guys. Increasing swaths of the population now care that the United States and almost all developed countries are failing to replace their populations. See, the insane thing is, if everybody in this survey said, yeah, not having children, like the country not having children hurts the future, they'll go, okay, so we force people to have sex. No. No! Fuck you! These idiots don't realize that we have cells that will literally turn off and die during various developmental stages. Yeah. A fingernail has human cells. Does it mean that it's gonna stay on my finger? No. Yeah, your fingernails are human life. They're inciting rape? How are they inciting rape? I mean, I'm not opposed to that statement. I'm just what... I guess forcing people to have children. Yeah, okay, yeah. I got you. Okay, yes, they also do think that marital rape doesn't exist. That's true. It is the woman's duty to the nation. In 2022, the total fertility rate in the U.S. was 1.665 births per woman aged 15 to 44, well below the replacement level of about 2.1. Oof. Oof. Forcing people to have sex, in my view, is raping both sexes. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It is rape by a third party. To worry that the US and most of the world are below the replacement rate does not imply a moral judgment on any particular person who does not marry or have children. Some adults, either by calling, health, or happenstance, do not marry. Some who do marry do not or cannot have one or more children for a multitude of reasons. Others suffer the pain of separation and divorce through no fault of their own. I see what you did there, and go fuck yourself. Flipping the term no fault, go fuck yourself. Why should the other person have to get divorced with no fault? They just say it right here. Yes, since the government doing this, all developed countries have low birth rates. Not a bad thing. Like, this is totally inhumane, totally inhuman. Immigration has been the fix for that. Well, I mean, like, I think, Maddie, that it's not as bad for a developing country to have low birth rates because they are building their economy and they are growing to match the pace of their growing economy. But if you have an established economy and your birth rate declines, then you're going to have a lot of problems. This report casts no moral judgment on individuals, but seeks to trap individuals in marriages. This report casts no moral judgments on individuals, rather it seeks to dispassionately analyze a multifaceted problem that affects all Americans, a problem that society can no longer avoid. For the country's population to replace itself and flourish across generations, a great many citizens must choose to marry, and as a matter of mathematics, couples must on average have at least 2 children. What is your solution? Like, having more children isn't going to help these people live. It isn't going to better their lives. So you're just going to have an increasingly unhappy populace. That doesn't benefit you. Totally inhumane, totally inhuman. Immigration has been the fix. If you have more humans than you do with supplies, then you have inflation. They're just looking at how can I maximize profit through inflation. The issue here is inflation. Yeah. It is not that these big businesses are growing through manufacturing of their own. As you can see, the US manufacturing rate is at a standstill. And it's probably going to go down because of all this mess. Yep. Just keep fucking our economy harder with these quote-unquote solutions. Policies aimed only at the birth dearth, however. Oh, you're so clever. You're so clever, Heritage Foundation. Policies aimed at the birth dearth, however, may make the mistake of focusing on a visible symptom instead of the illness itself. The malady is this: the natural family has ceased to be a central organizing reality of America's social and cultural life. That wouldn't be the case if you provided the resources necessary to make that an attractive option. If you focused on, was it third spaces? Is that what they're called? Third spaces, worker rights, paternity leave. The demographic transition model has been a thing since the Industrial Revolution. I mean, this drop-off, it's pretty intense. But Maddie, what are we getting out of this graph? That's not the mode, but it shows that birth rates have been around the same for decades. Oh, sure. But I don't know, Maddie. I think that's a lot to take out of this, because what I see is, what was the big? There was a big crash in the early 70s, wasn't there? Depression in the second half of the 20th century. America. Not the Great Depression. (1982). From 1965 to 1982 was a period of high inflation, slow growth, and high unemployment, defying conventional economic models. So between 1965 and 1982, we see an epic crash in birth rates. That is where people stopped seeing the promise of having children being a sustainable way of life. Then as the economy improved, we got better, and by better, we got back up to the replacement rate. But then 2008 happened, and we have been crashing ever since. I don't think this graph shows that birth rates have been pretty consistent. I think it has shown a trend of economic despair causing a huge crash in birth rates, and I think we're about to see it again. This is a very instructive graph. Look at me right there in the middle. This is a depressing graph. Because, like, this is what we're feeling right now, except this is a much more accelerated case. But it's like, even when things aren't insane, we're still feeling this. And by this, I mean, this is the same thing they were feeling, not we're feeling the decline in the replacement rate, or the birth rate. We're feeling the same thing these people were feeling, just it is the slow chokehold of capitalism. Sam, what a fucking first thing to say. Women are materialistic and fickle. That too, but sure, that may help explain why we didn't come back up here. But I think it's hard to argue with the stagflation from 1965 to 1982 causing this, and then the housing market crash causing this. Maddie's so materialistic and fickle. If there's one thing I know about Maddie Holmes, the natural family has ceased to be a central organizing reality of America's social and cultural life. To restore the nation's health, society must return the family to its pride of place. Because the family as a married man and woman and their children is the fundamental unit, the cell. Gay people, you don't get to be biology. Fuck you. You can go be physics somewhere else. Yeah. Long-term policy solution to the decline of the family should defend the family as such. I see you're not going to make a prescriptive solution here about that part. You're so open about your prescriptive solutions in other parts of this report. I feel like there's a quiet part you're not saying. There's a quiet part you're not saying here. They also didn't want to outright say, get rid of no-fault divorce. They know that's not popular. This reads like it was going to be narrated by Dr. Strangelove. To understand the current family crisis, one must begin at the beginning. Hold on, I need to get that voice.
I'm not going to go frame by frame.
What?
But to my eyes, you know, the last thing.
Oh, what? Dude.
To my eyes, you know, the last thing.
Oh, what? Fuck off with all that. Okay. Change the title covering Heritage Founders to see if you get new people. Alright. Can't be up too much longer, but I'll change the title. Or Maddie could change the title. Or Maddie could do it. Reviewing the Heritage Foundation Nightmare Future. Hey. This should not be up here. Understand the is the music too loud? I just noticed the volume bar on my OBS. A mutiny? I feel like that's because you were going against my wishes. I feel like that's what was happening. Okay. To understand the current family crisis, one must begin at the beginning. Begin at the beginning. No child can naturally come into existence without a biological mother and father. This biological fact is inseparable from a moral fact, is it? Parents have duties to their children, and children have a corresponding claim on their parents. But who are the parents? Because that's not the same thing as the biological mother and father. We have pretty clearly established this over centuries? That is not synonymous with parents. Oh right, I was gonna listen to Dr. Strangelove's voice.
Mr. President, I would not rule out the chance to preserve a nucleus of human specimens. It would be quite easy. At the bottom of some of our deeper minds, yeah?
I can't do that voice. I want to. This stuff right out of the old Moral Oral show. Yeah, and that things went so well in Moral Oral. I've greatly enjoyed watching like long form video essays on Moral Oral and how shit just goes wrong in that show. These are not just abstract truths. You're right. They aren't abstract truths. As elaborated in this report, a family headed by a child's married mother and father is, on average, the best context for bearing and raising that child, by a large measure. And where do same-sex couples stand compared to that Heritage Foundation? In this report, the authors show that married couples on average have more children than unmarried ones. Whoa. What? No way. Couples who marry earlier in their early 20s are more fertile and tend to have more children than those who marry later, say in their mid to late 30s. As a consequence, if more people marry earlier, that will likely boost the married fertility rate and alleviate a multitude of social problems described in this report. Alright. Ooh, a large share of the blame for the present malady lies in moral and cultural trends that have both fed and been fed by government policy. Chief among these is surely the sexual revolution. Ugh. Ugh. Pretty sure that's just factually separate. It is not just that sexual mores were revolutionized. Technology and policy also played key supporting roles. Starting in the 1960s, the pill and other contraceptives swept the country, which promised to reduce the unwanted consequences of casual sex with multiple partners across a lifetime. These people in the Heritage Foundation, I'm telling you, they are gross. They are sick, fucked up people. Like two gravitational objects interacting, the law soon influenced and was influenced by culture on this score. No-fault divorce laws became nearly universal, and divorce rates skyrocketed. Thank God. Thank God they skyrocketed. Like, imagine, like, I kind of want to, like, feed this, because I don't want to take the fucking time to do it. I kind of want to feed this into an AI and be like, I want to take this sentence, no-fault divorce laws became nearly universal and divorce rates skyrocketed, to be like, no-fault divorce laws became nearly universal, and, like, people in pain were finally able to leave their misery behind them. This is a moral atrocity. I just want to have the whole thing rewritten in that style. Even when the divorce rate leveled off from its peak, it was largely explained by the fact that fewer people bothered to get married. I think this is what made Biden such an abject failure. The Democrats should have been sounding the alarm with urgency and addressing people's material needs way more aggressively to grab votes. Yeah. Yes. But I do also want to note that they tried addressing some Project 2025 stuff, and the Republicans just lied about that not being part of the platform. And when it was determined to be part of the platform, the voters didn't care. They didn't care that these people lied to them. My understanding was that no-fault divorce was implemented because old men wanted newer, younger wives. Then all these old, educated women who had fulfilled their side of the marriage relationship were dumped when they were most dependent on the man's money. That's interesting. Hadn't heard about that. But I mean, whatever, a freedom's a freedom, and I appreciate it. Meanwhile, despite wide access to contraception, non-marital birth and abortion became even more jointly common, especially following, like, I can tell you, I'm way more likely to have a kid now. Like, hey, Heritage Foundation, I'm way more likely to have a kid now than when I was married before. I didn't fucking want that. Even some noted academics on the left have acknowledged that the shock of abortion and female contraception may have played a major role in the rise of out-of-wedlock childbearing. The perverse incentives of the welfare state. Blah, blah, blah. I think if they talked about kitchen table issues and do and do a Katie Porter with a whiteboard, I think things would do well. But I don't like Katie Porter right now, so we can take that tactic of hers, but she doesn't have it. Am I familiar with Katie Porter? Oh, I remember her. I remember her. The whiteboard. I love a whiteboard too. I'm glad you like it, Evelyn. But you probably shouldn't admit to liking it. It doesn't always have to be. I like blackboards too. Though chalk is kind of a pain in the ass, but that's the white problem. It's where the chalk comes in that the blackboard becomes a problem. On top of these, oh boy, on top of these tectonic culture forces undermining family came the LGBTQ agenda, which, through the Supreme Court of the United States, redefined marriage and severed it in law from its natural biological function and purpose of reproduction. I know earlier you said that you didn't condemn people for not having children because, like, they're infertile or whatnot. Are you opposed to those people getting married, Heritage Foundation? Why shouldn't you? Because it's AI generated, Evelyn. I'm sorry. This blow to marriage was followed shortly thereafter by gender ideology, such that by 2018, CNN's feature story, evil alien robot. No, it has a biological brain. I think if Democrats said bring your bills campaign, not for Democrats to pay, but to educate the market price versus what they're paying, I think they would get more votes. There has to be some sort of combination of personal finance, education, affordability, and campaigning. I think that would change the trajectory. I think somebody in the Democratic Party just need to get all the facts together and just be like, here, look at all these things side by side. The Republican Party is evil and they are not interested in protecting you. Period. This blow to marriage was followed shortly thereafter by gender ideology, such that by 2018, CNN's feature story on Father's Day weekend was titled "He Gave Birth, He Breastfed. Now he wants his son to see him as a man." The story pushed the idea that men can get pregnant on a holiday that honors fathers. But the rabbit hole goes further. So, should that holiday not honor stepfathers? Should it not honor infertile stepfathers? Marriage Foundation, it's almost like you don't have a cohesive worldview. I think that all subsidies should be stopped and people need to see what things actually cost. Democrats should have been more authoritarian about regulating corporations and giving back to the working class. More authoritarian. How are you saying they would do that? Just, have unitary executive theory of the Democratic Party? No thanks. But men are able to get pregnant without even being trans, like the technology for artificial womb technology is out there. they would still say that was an atrocity and shouldn't be celebrated on Father's Day. They are opposed to unusual fathers. Atypical fathers. That's what I call a one-night stand too, Sam. Just kidding. I don't know what that is. One 2023 GQ story titled, "The Deeply Human Love Stories of People and Their Sex Dolls is as dystopian as its headline suggests. It posits that future generations may have to ask whether both participants in a marriage are even human." New York Magazine published a practical guide to polyamory in January 2024 that seemed to signal its resolution to make marriages involving 3 or more people the left's next civil rights cause. Would that not result in more babies? Why are you opposed to this? Heritage Foundation, what is the basis for your interest in a one-man, one-woman marriage? What is that? Because now it's starting to look like it's a moral qualm, not just a practical one. Polyamory is fine, yeah. In the face of seemingly overwhelming anti-family forces around the world, dozens of countries have implemented policies designed to support natural marriage and family. For the most part, these efforts reveal a nettlesome asymmetry. Government policy has proven much better at suppressing fertility than at boosting it. No, that's lack of government policy. When you don't have regulations, then the economy sucks. People don't want to have children. It's really not hard. What's up, Dan McLeath? More good babies. Damn, these sections go on forever. To that end, what follows is a summary of special reports' proposed policies to help reverse that trend of declining formation of families. Come on. You said what follows is your recommendations. What? Children are fucking expensive. They sure are. But expensive is relative, right? So, if we just had better material outcomes, if life wasn't so fucking hard because of conservative policies, then children wouldn't be expensive. They would cost money, but that doesn't mean they're expensive. Share of adults 18 and older ever married. What? Wow. We're at like 50% of men have never been married? I guess that age is going up, so yeah, that makes sense. A child is an investment, and I've said this to my father. He disagrees with me, but a child is an investment, and the only way that you can get financial freedom out of being a parent is when you have made your child succeed, not only them doing it by themselves, but even if they need help by any means necessary. But no, people don't understand this. Yeah. I hate to say that it's an investment, though. Because I don't have a child or take care of my child with the expect of a return. Like, I just get a return out of the relationship. So I wouldn't even call it an investment. It's just an ongoing benefit. The state should provide everything for a child to succeed. Agreed. I've never been married. Isn't that what No Child Left Behind was meant to do? maybe that's what it was meant to do, but somebody should have really been in charge of figuring out what we do if the results don't prove to be what we were looking for. Median age at first marriage by sex. Yeah, no shit. Y'all are making it harder and harder on us, and this isn't gonna make it easier. This was sadly me. This is sadly me. I hate that I was here. I barely made it in that category, but share of births to unmarried women. Oh, we had to bring race into it. All right. As marriage declined, births outside of marriage became much more common. Unwed births were very rare for most of it. Something feels causal about the way you said that, and that is not a causal relationship. Like I guess there being less marriage, like being less marriage doesn't cause there to be more children. What I mean by an investment is more of that conservative ideology that the child is an extension of the father, and that's how I propose that sort of ideology in order to counteract their bootstrap mentality. State should provide for all of the working class. Should provide more for all the working class. Should provide a minimum for the entire working class. The state should be working class. Yeah. What is that weird jump in white women? That's interesting. Ladies, what happened? Yeah, it's right here. The Hispanic women banked that and took it later on. What is that? I kind of want to know. Let's see what we can figure out. Grunge. That appears to be 1989 to 1990. Huh. It may actually be that Hispanic women took it, because it's possible that the fact that Hispanic women starts right here was indicative of a change in policy in how they were separating these groups. So it appears that there was a weird data blip that happened as they transitioned into splitting this group off. Share births occurring to unwed mothers. Education level. What? Well, educated women are having a greater share of the births. That's interesting. Huh. That must mean that... Okay, that makes sense. Like... if you give greater access to women to have choice, then it's not just the wealthy women that are having the choice. So that means that they're going to level out a little bit at least. Share of children living in a two-parent home. How about we do this by income group? Because what does the race have to do with it, Heritage Foundation? What does the race have to do with it? Could we not get better information by looking at the income of these families? This is the data that Maddie shared earlier. Though this one looks like it goes a little bit farther on the chart, so we can see this absolute horrible crash keep going with a bump up. I bet we see a bump. I bet we get it higher, like right here. God damn, this is... Wow, it's even longer than I thought. Jesus, I only just now looked at the scroll thing. We're about a fifth of the way through this document. I gotta stop, like, reading every part here. Marriage versus cohabitation, dads matter, the decline in church attendance. Oh boy. Church attendance in the United States has collapsed over the past 50 years with profound consequences for individuals, families, and society. In 1975, over a third of American adults attended services weekly. Today, that figure has fallen to just over 1 in 5. Hell yeah, let's go. Based America. Almost half of U.S. adults now rarely or never attend, a doubling since the mid-1970s. The decline is evident across every major demographic: men and women, young and old, married and unmarried, black, white, and Hispanic, and especially among those with less formal education. Really? Really? I guess that's because white American Protestantism didn't really work out for them. Some of the issue with the Hispanic birth rate is because the United States decided to do a eugenics in the 1970s to women here in Puerto Rico and other places around the United States, specifically immigrants. So it's really some of the problem of these white supremacists. Yeah. It's their entire problem. Based... Respecting conscience and religious freedom. This one is my favorite from the playlist. It's how I end my videos. One of the starkest recent examples of government preferring the secular to the sacred occurred when state governments across the country shut down Easter worship services during the Oh my god, you snowflakes. This differential treatment highlighted a broader pattern where religious activities are viewed as optional luxuries rather than as essential human needs. Okay, well, I agree they shouldn't have left casinos and liquor stores open. Well, casinos. Liquor is just a common household purchase, like with food and stuff. But casinos definitely should have been closed. When governments consistently put commercial interests over spiritual ones or treat religious gatherings as inherently less valuable than secular activities, they signal that faith is marginal to public life. Such policies not only violate principles of religious freedom, but also it didn't violate your religious freedom at all. The perception that government is hostile to their faith drives many believers away from public participation. It can lead to a defensive posture with religious communities. Conversely, when governments actively protect and accommodate religious practice, through robust conscience protections, religious exemptions, and equal treatment of faith-based institutions, they create an environment in which religiosity can flourish. Studies consistently show that religious liberty protections correlate with higher levels of religious participation and vitality. When people feel secure that their deepest convictions will be respected and protected, and that's what you're going to do, right? You're going to respect Muslims, you're going to respect Hindus. You think Vegas cares? I don't think Vegas cares. Countries and communities with strong protections for religious freedom tend to have more diverse and dynamic religious landscapes. You do have strong protections for your religious freedom. What are you afraid of? What's happening to your religion? Different religious groups feel empowered to practice, evangelize, and contribute to public discourse without fear of government interference or discrimination. I would really like it if you didn't evangelize. I would like you to leave me alone. By treating religious conscience as a fundamental right rather than as privilege, like, what are you talking about? What? Can you give examples? How are you being abused? One of the most important things that religious institutions can do today to rebuild the family home is to use their religious freedom to preach and affirm God's design for the human body, sex, marriage, and the family. This includes pastors. Yeah, okay, sure, do what you want, man, in your church. Support for uniform day of rest. Hell yeah. I like that one. A completely, like, let's pick a completely non-religious day. Thursday, every day of the week, nobody can work. The entirety of society is expected to, like, cook for themselves. I'm like, I guess you would have to prepare. Maybe you could have, like, government employees running, like, state-run groceries on those Thursdays. But that would definitely do some level of benefit for socialization, I think. Not everybody would bite. But we don't get to prefer your special day. Oh, pornography culture. All right, I just got to scan it at this point. Drug abuse, divorce culture and its reform. Oh, fuck you. Originally billed as a way to ease the evidentiary burden required of wrong spouses seeking to exit a broken marriage, the no-fault system has in effect turned into a no-reason-needed system. Adultery, no, that's... The thing is, you don't get to decide if there's no reason. What? Nobody exits a divorce for no reason. That's ridiculous. Adultery, abandonment, and cruelty are no longer considered aggravating factors in determining alimony and property division. They still are in some states. Any interest of any children are not considered at all in whether a divorce should be granted. It shouldn't. You don't have a better... You're not a better judge of whether the family would be better with those two unhappy people together as parents. When New York State eliminated fault-based divorce in 2010... Oh, 2010? The state chapter of the National Organization for Women objected, stating that it would disadvantage a majority of women, especially homemakers with children. Now also objected to the elimination of the need for spouses to attempt to negotiate their differences in marriage and divorce. In community property states, a spouse that earned little or no money during the marriage would be entitled to up to 50% of the assets acquired during the marriage and alimony support for years after the divorce. Because these aspects of divorce were not substantially changed with the advent of no-fault divorce, they act as perverse incentives for ending marriages that could otherwise have been saved. Yeah? Pornography is fine, the only thing... Whatever happened to, like, get your prenup, boys? Pornography is fine, the only thing is to keep children away from seeing it, like having age limits and having ways that it keeps both groups away. That is the only thing that needs to happen, yeah. A few states have pushed back on no-fault divorce and have added more difficult-to-exit covenant marriages as an option that spouses-to-be can choose. Others are re-examining some of the default presumptions of divorce and custody of children. For instance, in 2018, Kentucky became the first state to pass a law making 50-50 shared custody the default when couples divorce or separate. Its champions argued that courts historically favored mothers in custody disputes and treated fathers as optional. Like, they're trying to make this about, like, a contractual relationship. Isn't that what a prenup is, guys? Can y'all not just support a prenup? Damn. Oh my god, now y'all just being redundant about welfare. Jesus. Alright, I think I'm done with this at this point. Alright, I'm gonna do just a little Reddit scrolling, and then I think I'm gonna call it a night. How you doing, Minnesota?
Control zones within those zones of the city. What's up, guys? It's very likely that you have seen the Signal Gate scandal that I uncovered and infiltrated on X. So some of those are going to be motor patrols, patrol zones within those zones of the city. So when they clock in for their shift, I find it hard to believe.
How would you deal with their policy language, and how can you show the policy is see-through? Because I think that's what needs to happen. Here is exposure. I think the best way to counter these things is to honestly do the thing that I said that I wanted to do earlier with like if I were to actually do this project, and maybe I should make this a regular thing that I do, publish counter materials that just is the same document but phrase it in the less veiled language. I think that would be very helpful.
That they're not being paid when they're taking literal shifts for 6 to 8 hours a day doing these roles. And then the patrols will go chase those vehicles if they're believed to be ICE.
That was on Lake and Park. Thanks.
And they do this in conjunction with a tactic that they call salute.
Not ICE. Why are you guys following us? And they leave like right when we get out of the car. We're not ICE. We're not ICE. We're following them because they were following us.
Well, you look suspicious as fuck.
Go to the airport. We don't want people following us.
Go to the airport.
And hurting us when we get home.
They're not going to hurt you. They're going to stay right behind you. They're going to stay right
all
behind
the way
you.
back to where we're staying, right?
Great.
Yeah, no, we don't want that.
Okay, and when they found out who I was, it got even worse. And to be clear, you can show them your press badge all you want. It's not going to make anything better. They will just either find out who you are and then go even harder, or assume that you're ICE that's printed a fake press badge. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm still undercover in these chats, and I'm going to continue releasing information on my X, which is just @CamHigby.
Wow, what a piece of shit. When asked by a veteran from Bemidji, Minnesota, if she has a right to the Second Amendment, he says sometimes yes, sometimes no. Republicans are now anti-Second Amendment. Yep.
I do want to ask you, Minnesota is really sort of in the midst of almost a war
Mike
at times,
Lindell's
it
running in
seems, between the
Minnesota?
federal government and our state government. I know you have strong feelings about the...
Fuck off. Yeah, this, it's insane that people are circulating this Alex Preddy video.
Find a Planet Fitness near you for $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends January 30th.
Beauty at home is waking up inspired.
It's only a Second
Beauty
Amendment
at
when it
home
fits
is a
their
full
narrative, their
table.
terrorism, their authoritarianism,
Beauty at home is celebrating
their
daily
own political
rituals.
power. Yep.
Lulu in Georgia. Bring
The right
beauty
doesn't
home.
believe in rights, period.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before
there.
Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was
insane that
analyzed
people
by
are
the
sharing this
BBC,
video
whose
as,
facial
like, a
recognition
way of
technology
demonizing Alex
confirmed his
Preddy.
identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents...
He kicked an ice tail light, and for that, he deserves to die.
were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd.
For what?
They continued to hold the man down before they
For
retreat,
what?
and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Preddy was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Nurse approached. Shortly after the altercation,
God damn. Alright, I'm gonna call it a night. So looks like everybody else has gone to bed. I'll go to bed too. I'm Know Nothing Attorney. I know nothing, so you can too. Because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything. And that's what we're here to do every single day. Every single day that we're here. Again, schedule is now Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So I'm taking every day off except from Friday and Saturday. As always, I'm proud of you. I don't need to know you personally for that to be real. It's true and you deserve to hear it. If only because life is hard, it's always been hard, and it always will be hard. But the way you face each and every single day, the way you do, is remarkable. So stay remarkable, and I'll see you guys next time. Y'all have a good night. Yeah, I wish suck now. I wish. Alright, good night.